The GBOS regular meeting to order. The time is whatever it is. The Girdwood Board of Supervisors is subject to the Alaska Open Meetings Act as found in Alaska Statute 44.62.310 and Anchorage Municipal Code 1.25-public meetings. The Girdwood Board of Supervisors operates under the Girdwood Public Meeting Standard of Conduct. I'll let you get settled and we can talk. My name is Jennifer Wingard. I'm co-chair. And Brianna, would you like to do the?
I'd be happy to. The Girdwood Board of Supervisors acknowledges the indigenous peoples of Alaska whose land we reside on. The community of Girdwood, situated between the areas known to be Dena'ina and Aluptic homeland, respects the people who were stewards of this land for generations. We commit to the continued stewardship of this land and are grateful to be a part of a wider community that seeks to maintain a sustainable use of Girdwood Valley for present and future people.
Do you want to, which one do you want to chair? Chair?
Yeah, I'll take two.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Yep, so we'll go to roll call, please.
Great. Kelly Okonek.
Present.
Thank you. Jennifer Wingard.
Here.
Brianna Sullivan.
Present.
Mike Edgington.
Present.
And Brian Burnett is excused.
Okay, thank you. Any disclosures, or we can do it on the items? Okay, announcements. Public is encouraged to ask questions and provide comment. Please raise your hand and wait to be acknowledged. To help discussions stay productive, please direct your comments to the board rather than other members of the public. Keep your comments focused on the business under discussion, and please be respectful of everyone's opinions. Power outage is on this Thursday. Upcoming meetings, we have a set of meetings which are not currently scheduled. GBOS seats D and E, terms end in 2026. Candidate filing for the regular municipal election opened about a week ago and will close this Friday, on Friday, January 30th at 5 p.m. There's a link in the minutes to, in the agenda, sorry, to information for any potential candidates. I'd entertain a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
Move to approve tonight's agenda.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion? If not, we'll do it by assent. Sorry.
I think that there was a request to add the first quarter revisions to.
Oh, yes, there was. Thank you.
I'll move to add first quarter revisions. That would go under new business.
Correct.
So new business, item number 13.
Okay.
Or 12B.
12B, I guess.
I'll second the amendment to the agenda.
Okay. I will take this by assent unless any further discussion. Okay, thank you. Not hearing any. That is passed. We will now move on to minutes approval. Do we have the minutes for the December 15th meeting? Entertain a motion to approve. Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion on 15th? I'll do this by assent. Okay, minutes pass. We can dive straight into the presentations. We have a presentation by Chugach Electric. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Julie Haskett, and I'm the Senior Manager of Corporate Communications at Chugach. Tonight, we're here to talk to you about a few things, including the Girdwood to Indian transmission line rebuild, which we are in the final stage with right on your doorstep outside of Girdwood here. And we want to update you on that. But I also wanted to start with an apology for the changing time of our outage. We know we initially told you the outage was last week. And because of timing in the field, it turned out that this week was going to be better. And if we had gone last week, apparently you were going to have 2 outages. So the timing got a little bit messed up and you got late notice about the change. But it is this Thursday from 12 a.m. to 4 a.m. And Sturgeon is our contractor who is doing the work. I wanted to introduce who's with me tonight from Chugach. I have Nikki Giordano, who's our new stakeholder engagement manager. And Nikki is going to be the liaison to all community councils. And I consider you Office of Community Council. So if you have any issues or questions for Chugach ever, you can call Nikki. We have Mike Miller, who's our Vice President of System Control. Chris Kohler, who's the program or the project manager on the rebuild. Dan Keene, who a lot of you know is from the field representative on our project. He works for Chugach. And then Josh Henrik and Josh Mila from Sturgeon. So Mike is going to make the presentation on where we are with the Girdwood to Indian rebuild. And we are available to answer questions about that, or if you have questions about anything else that's going on with Chugach. So I'm going to let Mike start and go through our few slides and then see what questions you might have. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Julie. Like Julie said, my name is Mike Miller. I'm the Vice President of System Control for Chugach, formerly the Vice President of Engineering. It's been a while since I've been down here to talk to you all about this project, so thank you for having us back. I appreciate it. We'll just kind of do a quick refresher on the background of the transmission line and the project itself. We'll talk about the recent construction activities and schedule, so you guys know what you can expect, and then hopefully have some time for any questions you guys may have. So what are we doing here? How did we get here? The transmission line between Anchorage and the Camp Peninsula is a 115,000 volt transmission line. It was originally built in the 60s to give us access to the Cooper Lake hydroelectric plant. Since then, it's also provided access to the Bradley Lake hydroelectric plant down the peninsula for Chugach, Matanuska Electric, and Golden Valley Association. It serves all the communities in Chugach's territory between Anchorage and Forts Creek, Days Creek, Moose Pass, so Portage, Whittier, Hope, Cooper Landing. We started rebuilding this transmission line in 2012, and to date, we have 36 of the 90 miles completed, with the addition of 9 of the 12 miles that were slated for this project. So in this project, the plan is to rebuild approximately 12.5 miles of that transmission line. And the work associated with that is installing new wire conductors, fiber optic cable for communications, new poles, also known as structures, down guys, anchors, and pole foundations, as well as removing the end-of-life existing infrastructure that we're replacing. To date, we have completed about 9.5 miles of that. I'm sure as you guys make your way to and from Anchorage, you can see some of the changes in the transmission line and some of the changes with the structures. And we have about a little less than 3 miles left to do. They were slated to be done last year. However, if you guys can recall what last winter was like, it got really warm there for a while and wasn't really fun for anybody. I'm sorry?
We got that out of our minds.
Yeah, so sorry to remind you of a poor winter, but due to the lack of freezing temperatures and that 3 miles being in wet lands and things like that, we weren't able to complete it. So that's why we're back this year. So what are we looking to do here in the first quarter as it relates to you all? We have a section in the Bird Flats. I'm sure if in the last week or so, if you've driven between here and Anchorage, you see some of the foundation work that's being done, pile driving and things like that. That's in preparation to install new structures and string new conductors and things like that in that section and cut those over. We're planning on having that completed in March. There's also the line that is dedicated to Girdwood itself, that kind of runs parallel to the transmission and goes right into the substation that's kind of there behind the Speedway and Coast Pizza and stuff like that. So they began work on that this month. They're building a temporary line to feed Girdwood while they rebuild the permanent line. So a lot of what you're seeing there is a temporary line they've worked on. And that is what is causing us to ask for that outage or dictating the need for that outage scheduled for Thursday in the early morning, is so that we can cut over the community from the old permanent line to the new temporary one and allow them to then wreck out the old permanent line and build the new permanent line for you all. Similar scope of work. And once they've gotten that completed, there'll be another outage similar in scope in February, in which they'll then transfer Girdwood back onto the new permanent line from the temporary one, and then they'll remove the temporary one. similar to the other work I described, it's all supposed to be done in March. And we'll hopefully be out of your hair as it relates to that transmission line at least. So that's the update I had for you all, and I'm open for any questions or comments you have.
Any questions from the board? No, just, I guess my question is just, so the February the 10th date is also going to be an early hours outage?
Right, yep. Understanding the impacts to the community and to the resort, we aim for those early morning hours to try and have as little impact on you all as possible.
Okay, thank you.
Question. When you get done with this phase, what's the next phase? Is it from Girdwood down to Portage, or what are you guys looking at next?
So there are several sections left to do. The two sections that we're currently working on getting prepared to go rebuild is there's a section between what we call, it's Aves Creek to Summit Lake. It's by Summit Lake Lodge-ish, to the entrance into Cooper Landing, I guess would be the best way for me to describe it. So that's one that we're getting close to being able to reconstruct, and we're hoping to do that here in the next year or two, get started on construction. And then after that, we're looking to hopefully tackle a section that's between Anchorage and Powerline Pass area. We had done Powerline Pass down, I want to say almost a decade ago now, if I remember right. Those are the next two that we have in the queue. Girdwood to Portage, we're actually doing some work on that section right now due to a vintage of insulators that we found are proving to be unreliable. So you may, if you head that direction, have seen in the last couple of weeks some of our internal shoe guys crews climbing structures and hanging off of cross arms and swapping out hardware. That was to replace those insulators that had caused some nuisance outages to the transmission line that could have affected you all or Portage and the communities down south.
Okay, thanks.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you. Bryce.
Thank you, Chair. Just wanted to ask, I'm a loyal customer of Chugach with electric heat only in my home. Just curious what, it sounds like a swap, but just curious if there's any chance of failure, kind of what that looks like contingency wise in case something goes wrong during the 4 hours.
Yeah, so we're going with the 4-hour window to allow for hiccups to be resolved. I wouldn't anticipate anything causing you to be without power for any time that would be material further than the 4 hours. Josh Henrik, the foreman on the project, he's very aware of our concerns as it relates to the community and providing you guys power. And he's been doing transmission line work with us for, I want to say 20 years now. I don't know. So we're very confident that they'll be able to do the cutover. The work itself isn't necessarily overly complicated that they need to do, just more so ensuring that we do it in such a way that it is safe for the men to perform the work. And Josh, obviously, if I'm misspeaking, correct me, but
now we're 98% of the way done with it. This outage is just to make the final tie in each end. So the big worry is, behind us in the rear mirror, connections. And Mike said there's a little bit of extra time just in case something slips out and our guys take a little longer than we expect. But we're confident that the outage will meet the time frames we gave the guys, if not a little bit better.
Hey, thank you. Okay, any other questions?
Thank you.
I have a comment really quickly. On that last photo right there, I was really relieved to see the temperatures go down because it looked so bad on all the work that you had all set up on the wetlands right there.
Yeah.
But no, they're not going to get all that work done. Now it's looking better anyway.
yeah, we're a lot happier this year than we were this time ago. That's
A lot of work. So thank you.
well, thank you.
Thank you.
very much.
Thank you, everybody.
Appreciate it.
Can I add one more note?
Yeah, absolutely.
Julie Haskett again. So on March 24th, Chugach is having a town hall in Anchorage at the BP Energy Center. It is not going to be live streamed, but it is an opportunity to come in person, and we'll have our entire executive team there to just kind of update on all things Chugach, ask questions. We haven't had a town hall in a very long time. It's different than our annual meeting, which has the election, all the things. So if you want to make a plan to be in Anchorage on March 24th, it will be at 6 o'clock at the Energy Center, and we've got a flyer in the back, and Margaret has a copy of the flyer. So we're just trying to get the word out so people know that it's coming up.
Thank you.
So thank you for all your time tonight.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to our second presentation tonight, which is Planning and Zoning Commission case 2026-042, which is an amendment to change the old gravel pit to allow for helicopter and avalanche mitigation. Paul, you're online, please, Patrick. Hi, Paul, can you hear us?
Let me see where he ended up in the meeting space. Let me see if I can pull him out.
Make an attendee, perhaps.
Let's do something mean to make them all leave. Make an attempt.
Oh, weird. I've never seen you go there.
I think
Paul, can you hear us? We can't hear you for some reason. We can see your mic's off, but maybe get out and then rejoin, and could come back to him as soon as he comes back in. There you go. Somehow he ended up in a
Separate room.
matrix of teams.
A glitch.
There's always something new.
Maybe a 1-minute recess.
Okay, there you are, Paul. Can you hear us? See him. For some reason we can see you, Paul, but you're not in our attendee list. I can't see if you have your mic on or off. Yeah, you can. I see no mic for you. You're having mic issues on your end. I see you here in the. Yep, I'll send you an invite.
Okay, let's move on to at least the first set of the reports, then we'll come back. So we'll start off with the legislative report. I didn't see Senator Giesel, and I know
He is here, Senator.
Sorry.
He was here. Yep.
I see Zach. I didn't see.
Senator Giesel did clock in, but then she's out.
Okay.
So she'll come back.
Yeah, and I know Kai Holland said, Representative Holland said he would be here a little late. So move on to Assembly. Zach.
Yeah,
Welcome.
hey, thank you. I'll give you guys a quick update. Under recent Assembly action at our first meeting in January, we took up several tax proposals, including the mayor's proposed sales tax, and all of those were postponed indefinitely or voted down. So there won't be any sales tax or anything like that on the ballot for 2026. We did approve the school bond proposal. So the school bond will be for $79 million on the April ballot. We also finally completed the process of updating the community council boundary maps that have been in the works for a while. And in Girdwood specific items, the Assembly approved AO 2025-143, which designates the Girdwood Board of Supervisors as an advisory commission on land use matters. So we got that one done, and then we postponed the other Girdwood specific item, AO 2025-144, which would require 2 members of the HLB commission to be Girdwood residents. My sense was, as we were debating on the body, that it was unlikely we would have had the votes to pass it at that meeting, and there seemed to be some questions that we can hopefully resolve with the members as we work through the process. Which brings me to the next thing. We will be taking up the HLB work program and 5-year plan. I believe we scheduled that for March, and we have a work session coming up this Friday for anyone who wants to tune into that. That'll be at City Hall. Also coming up tomorrow night, we have the rest of the regular bond slate, think parks, roads, CASA, things of that nature. And then we also have the proposed special levy for ASD school funding. This would be a one-time levy for $11 million to be dedicated towards funding for ASD. And the mechanics of it are a little complex, but basically the reason why this is an option we have available for next year has to do with the change in the BSA and the funding formula, giving us more space in that maximum allowable local contribution, which is distinct from the required contribution. So that'll be up for debate tomorrow night, and if approved, would be on the ballot for 2026. Also coming up tomorrow night is an ordinance I'm co-sponsoring, which would expand prohibitions on unsafe and inappropriate conduct. This was developed in collaboration with the Municipal Prosecutor's Office, the Mayor's Administration, APD, and it covers a number of items, including public indecency, public intoxication, threatening behavior, things like that, that I think most people generally agree are not really socially acceptable behaviors. But we're kind of a blind spot, I guess you could say, in that criminal code. Existing code didn't actually address some of these scenarios and make them criminal conduct. So the hope is that this will be a useful tool for the Anchorage Police Department. Generally, the goal is voluntary compliance or connecting people with services who need help, but it's good to have the option of fallback if there's a lack of compliance. So those are my updates. I'll pause there for any questions.
Any questions from the board? I'll ask the question that a lot of people are asking. Girdwood said, I've seen a lot of significant increases in property assessments in Girdwood and across the bowl. For some people, not for most. What's going on?
Yeah, so I have been getting a lot of inquiries about this, and the mayor's office has been putting out some information. We also have an update. You know, we had our folks at the legislative branch put together a nice little one-pager kind of explaining the process. Happy to share that with anyone who would like. But this year, the assessor's office made some changes to the way that they calculate property valuations. And this is to conform with standards that we are expected to adopt per state code. And has to do with things like consolidating the number of zones, going from 400 to something like 20, changes in terms of how structures are graded, et cetera. The grand result of all this is that the average increase in valuation for the entirety of the municipality was around 4%, which seems to roughly track what we'd expect given the state of the housing market. But there were some exceptional cases where people saw their valuations increase by 20 to 30%. Which is certainly, understandable why people would be concerned about that. So, with a 4% average, the fact that we have a handful 20, 30, I think they're outliers, but still significant. And there seem to be particularly neighborhoods that saw more of these than others. So the mayor directed the tax assessor's office to go back and review the valuations for some of these areas that seem to be particularly affected. And they did come to the determination that some of those needed to be adjusted down. So they have taken that proactive step. And I believe the mayor's office should be putting out some information. It was either this afternoon or hopefully sometime this evening, kind of explaining where we've seen the adjustments lowered. I'm also telling anyone who, as in any year where you get a valuation that you don't think is appropriate for your property, to reach out to the assessor's office. You can just call and ask a question, and then if you feel like you're not satisfied with the response or that they're going to be responsive to your concerns, you can always go through the formal appeal process. And I believe the deadline for that is coming up in maybe February 11th, somewhere around there. So if people want to go that route, I would encourage them to consider doing so sooner rather than later. I will say, confidently, while the process is never a perfect one, it is one that is being managed by professionals. There's no political motivation in all this. Increasing valuations don't actually increase the amount of revenue the municipality gets. That's determined by the tax cap. So it doesn't do anything to bolster the municipal budget. If anything, it actually harms us a little bit because it increases our required contribution to the state for ASD funding. So I hope that would adequately answer your question, but I'm happy to go further if you'd like.
Thank you. I saw a question from the audience.
Hi, Zach. Amanda
Hi.
again. I've got a couple questions for you. One, you're rolling through some information pretty quick. Could you start? So my first question is, you said there is a city council meeting for the HLB plan on Friday. Can you please give me a bit more information about that? And
Yeah,
able to attend?
sure. So I while we're here, I will confirm the time. Tell you what, I won't try and answer it in real time. I'll put in the chat exactly when that work session is happening. But every year before we take action on the HLB work plan and a 5-year program, we have an assembly work session. It's a chance for the real estate department to kind of go over what's new in the plan and also for members to ask questions. It's kind of our standard practice.
So what is the process on that? Do I need to, submit by 5:00 p.m. the day before? Am I able to show up and actually speak, or how does that work?
So we don't allow for audience participation or questions at work sessions. Work sessions are there for assembly members to ask questions about items that are coming before the body. So members of the public can either attend in person or watch online, but it's not an opportunity for engagement with the public. Now, there will be a public hearing when the assembly takes up the HLB work plan, or at least I believe there will be. But then also, I think the regular process for people to make comments to HLB, I mean, there is, I forget the exact time frame and methods, but we do get a lot of comments on the HLB work plan, a lot of them which come from Girdwood. And we do, I at least say I take a look at those as we go through the process.
That'd be great. I will be sending you that comprehensive plan amendment form that we talked about 2 weeks ago when I confronted you at the assembly. You'll be seeing that coming, just to prove that it was the Girdwood comprehensive plan as an amendment.
Yep.
My second thing, is that this is something I wanted to bring up. It was something that I was unaware of, and I don't really know how much the community is actually aware of, but it was on the assembly when I was there at the last meeting, that Girdwood now has the land use authority. Can you please explain what that means and what that entails? And I'm all about it, but I feel like I feel pretty left in the dark, especially being a land use expert. I'm pretty curious what that means.
Yeah, well, I mean, actually, somebody on the Girdwood Board of Supervisors might be able to provide a better answer than I can. So I don't know if anyone wants to take a stab at it, but the basic crux of it is that Girdwood Board of Supervisors will have an advisory role when it comes to Title 21 changes that affect Girdwood. And really, this is modeled after what has been the long-standing practice in Eagle River. Chugiak Eagle River has an advisory board that, for their section of Title 21, plays an advisory role. So we're just kind of taking that model and extending it to Girdwood.
Well, any extra information you would have would be great, because frankly, this was assembly meeting last week or 2 weeks ago. It's the first I'd ever heard of it, because we've not been informed of it here at the GBOS. So anything you got is appreciated. I'm going to go on to my third one. My third, property tax assessment. I'm literally holding every piece of property's tax assessment in my hand. My personal primary residence property tax has gone up 136.63% in 2 years. I'm now being taxed at $863 a square foot of my primary residence that I have owned since 2011. You understand? 136% in 2 years. This is why you have killed our local economy. Zach, you need to stand up for this community.
So, did you have a response, Zach?
I mean, that does sound like a truly exceptional increase in property taxes, and I haven't heard of any cases where we've seen a jump of that size before. And unfortunately, without more information, it's going to be hard for me to
to you, Zach.
Okay, yeah, no, I'd certainly take a look at it. Again, as I mentioned earlier, increasing valuations does not affect the municipality's budget. We adopt a tax cap through the budget process, and then we take the total assessed value, and from that we determine the mill rate. So valuations, there's no motivation, I guess you could speak. There's no benefit to the muni or us as people who try to make the budget work to seeing the valuations go up. It is a process that is dictated to us largely by state law that says we have to come up with a system to come up with the best and most accurate valuations that we can that reflect the true value of the property. There are always challenges there. I mean, one significant one is Alaska is a non-disclosure state, so we have limited data on what homes are actually selling for. And as I mentioned, it's an imperfect process, and I think we found some changes that happened this year that have had a significant effect. But again, if the valuations as they move as an average, doesn't have anything consequence in terms of what the municipality pulls in overall for tax revenue, just to be clear about that point. But yeah, for individuals who are being particularly impacted by this, I am listening. I've had a lot of conversations with the mayor's team and the tax assessor's office. That's why we've seen steps like going back and proactively reviewing some of these places that were most impacted. And as questions come in to me from individuals, which I've been getting a lot of them, I've been doing my best to explain what's happening, as well as make sure that they understand their options and what recourse they have.
Zach, I just want to hear that you support us, because at the same time, you're out, municipalities also flooding my property. No,
Yeah, we are going to.
I own GC2.
Can you finish your comment, please? Right. You asked a question earlier. You've had plenty of time. You asked a question. You made a statement earlier about GBOS, about not knowing anything about the change to Title 21 to give GBOS an advisory role. That's something we've discussed at multiple meetings here and passed a resolution on a couple of months ago, which led to and we've discussed at municipal manager meetings as well. So that's in the record. Okay, thank you. I didn't see anyone else from, sorry, did you have a?
Oh, I mean, I was just on the HLB meeting, and just a clarification, I think you may have spoken to it, but there are some items that are of particular importance to members of Girdwood and GBOS, and because we're particularly affected by HLB, like, are you willing to, if people send you things, like, bring those forward and represent them, proactively, or you're just going to take it under consideration? I mean, just kind of what's your perspective on receiving feedback, and then level of commitment to actively representing that feedback, because we won't be able to speak at that meeting.
I mean, I certainly welcome feedback, and I always want to hear Girdwood's ideas, and I want to be supportive of the community's ambitions. It's hard for me to state, definitively that if I get a comment or suggestion from a community member that I will be able to, what necessarily would do with that. I mean, I do get often conflicting requests from people in the community. So I try to listen to them carefully and think about what best reflects the desires of that community. So if you send me something, I will absolutely take a look at it and give it consideration.
Yeah, thank you for speaking to that.
Thank you. Okay. I don't see any other. Sorry.
Did you want to?
Oh, sorry, Dave. I saw you there, and then go ahead, Dave. Dave Nyman.
Hey, thanks a lot. Yeah, no, just a general comment on the taxes, because I think I saw my wife's place go up 35%, which could be reasonable. But I kind of, just a general sense, I've seen this happen before, and my general sense is we always want our assessments following the market and not leading the market. And sometimes when you see these big jumps, you kind of go, wow, are we trying to lead the market in a direction we want to go? Yeah, and I know one of my coworkers was preparing an appeal, and she was going through and getting comparables of, something that the city would recognize, going through, getting a lot of details, the age of her house, certain things that apply. But she also told me that someone had said that, or the statistic was that 83% of the appeals that are filed get some sort of reduction in the past based on history. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Okay. Thank you, Zach. What I'm going to do is go back to, do we have Paul Hatcher back now?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Excellent. Let's go back to the presentation.
All righty.
And thank you. Go ahead.
Thanks, Mike. Sorry for that technical difficulty. My coworker Sean Odell's on another computer. We were trying to do it in one of our meeting rooms so we could both be together, but didn't work that way. So thanks for pulling that up. So as you guys know, Timothy from the state avalanche control has been to GBOS and a couple other different meetings in the Girdwood area, speaking about the gravel site that Mike talked about just down the highway a little bit, that they're trying to develop as the new avalanche control, avalanche storage site. Luckily, you guys were doing your comprehensive plan over the last couple of years, and he was able to get into that and classify that lot or that parcel, that large area as industrial so that he could rezone it to an industrial use. So this is so they are doing that. That's on February 2nd at Planning and Zoning Commission. That'll be an abbreviated zoning process. The only caveat is it doesn't meet exactly Title 21, Chapter 9 code requirements because Chapter 9 in the Girdwood Airport District specifically gives a location as to where the airport, yep, if you go down, I don't know if it's on that one. Yeah. If you want, there you go. Oh, you had it, I think. EAO. There you go. Yep. Keep going. A little bit more. Right there. Yep. So the thought process is because you guys changed what industrial districts meant for the Girdwood Comprehensive Plan, we're taking a cue from that and basically creating the GA, changing the GA definition of the GA district to an appropriate where the comprehensive plan is designated, which is what you guys did in the comprehensive plan. And then in the intent, we're adding the industrial and the transportation because of those things. Then the other part we're adding, and I don't know if you guys knew this or not, if you go down a little bit more, Kyle, governmental service. So they will be still coming. And I think you guys I think Timothy came last week, I think it was, to talk to you about the conditional use for the governmental services. What's really interesting is that you guys in your code in the tables had governmental service twice. You had it once under community, and then you had it once under industrial, and they had different classifications in both of them. The other thing is you didn't have a description as to what governmental service was. So typically, not always, but in most cases in the table, it would either refer to something back in Chapter 5. Yep, there you go. On the right-hand side, it would either, like this one did, it will refer back to Chapter 5, or it will refer to Chapter 9 because there is actually a definition for that use class. And so this is what we wanted to add in there for governmental service. So it was specific to Girdwood, and that it would kind of handle any kind of regulation and all that stuff with the explosive storage. And so this is supposed to go before planning and zoning on the 9th of March. And then both the rezone and if they both get passed, both of them would go before the assembly sometime at the end of March, possibly like the 24th or the beginning of April for introduction, and then 2 weeks later for approval. And we just wanted to make sure you guys were aware of this. We know you've had a big hand in helping the state work through this process as they convert from a howitzer, live ammunition type scenario to the tower situation that they're going to be going to, where they need an actual helicopter and storage so that they can put these devices up in the fall and take them back down in the spring to mitigate avalanche along the Seward Highway in this area. Any questions?
Any questions from the board? Okay, I've got one question.
Sure, Mike.
Is there anything similar to governmental service in Chapter 5?
There is. That's so if you go back to the table, that's what it's referencing to. And yep, right there. So on the right-hand side in that industrial where it says governmental service. Oh, it's not in yours. Yes, there is a 2105, but it doesn't talk about explosives or hazardous materials or anything like that.
Okay, so it's the hazardous materials which would be specific to Chapter 9.
Correct.
Got it. Thank you. The questions? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for the.
There's a question from Kyle.
Oh, yeah.
Real quick, will there be a formal packet coming out in advance of that meeting for department comments?
Yes.
Okay.
In fact, you guys should see it. Typically, you guys see it 52 days before the meeting. So I think you guys should have already gotten it, or it should be coming soon.
So we'll probably put this as an action item if the board wants to do action on it for the meeting.
Correct. Yep.
Yep.
That'd be great.
Yep.
That'll be before our March meeting.
We'll have it at the February meeting.
Yeah, but
Yep. So you'll see this in old business at February.
Yeah, I got it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
Okay, so we're jumping around a little bit. Just going to go back to legislative report, just check if there's any I do not see anyone from the state legislature or Anchorage School District. Do we have HLBAC report?
I don't think we didn't have a formal report, did we?
We did not.
Yeah, okay, thank you. In that case, we'll move on to item number 2. We might come back to, if Senator or Representative joined, we might come back to that. Item number 2, supervisor reports. Anybody got any supervisor reports?
I will.
Go ahead.
Okay, this is Brianna, Fire Department Supervisor. They had their annual meeting, so that has passed. I wanted to add, in case it's not in Chief Weston's slide, that the fire department is on Pick, Click, Give. So if you're doing your PFD application still and would like to give to Pick, Click, Give. And the Turnagain Community Health, so the former clinic name is now Turnagain Community Health. I had a conversation about services since incidents over the holidays with fire and police and people in our community. And I just wanted to let people know that there are resources through the Turnagain Community Health. And I think Linda wanted to let us know that, but to see places at the clinic where they would post those information. I do not have that information, but I know they're offering places like resort and outreach so we can support our community. So continue to be a good neighbor to everyone in our community. I think that is all I had to say.
Thank you. Okay, Kelly, go ahead.
For public safety, the Safer Seward Highway presentation occurred here. They went over what's potentially going to be, construction that would widen and double and revolutionize the Seward Highway. Of particular interest, though, Sean Holland was there, and I don't know, Kyle, if he'll follow up with you, but he said that they do have extra money in the budget that he was willing to put toward traffic calming measures on the Alyeska Highway that would, once in place, enable a more robust discussion around potentially lowering the speed limit. So in order to lower the speed limit, these measures would need to be in place. And so we had a discussion that suggested doing what we can now makes it safer at 45 and enables a future conversation. So I think big appreciation for DOT for taking the wishes of the community seriously and keeping that moving. I don't know if you had anything else to say about it.
No, I had a meeting with him and I was supposed to do a follow-up last week, but we were so busy with stuff in the field that I'm meeting with him this week. And we had a study that came out and we shared it with the advisory committee. And basically they said changes would have to happen to the highway to make it conform to a lower speed limit. Otherwise, it just puts more pressure on enforcement. If they were just to change the signs today, people naturally want it. That highway's meant to go 45 miles per hour. So they would have to change the highway somehow to make it feel more constricted. But in the short term, what we're looking at doing is improvements for the sweeps on the bike paths with getting striping and signage back down on the ground again. And then hopefully getting flashing speed signs as you come into town, like when you hit the 30 zone and things like that. And then possibly lowering that speed limit before the corner as you can by the old bike shop there, putting it in that section. So I'm really dependent on the DOT to follow through on those measures. We can carry the striping and putting those or the placards on the ground again. So I'll be talking with him this week about it.
Then also, I think our avalanche forecaster called it seasonal whiplash. We had the coldest December on record, or warmest December on record, then the coldest December on record. So I just want to give a big shout out to Kyle for an unprecedented amount of environmental factors like buildup or overflows and thawing this and steaming this and then snow on top of that. And I think it's been a little bit crazy, and I just am deeply grateful for the role that you've played. And I think we haven't had any, major unmanageable things due to your diligence and commitment. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Yay, Carl. Hey, round of applause.
Oh, yeah.
Yay, just keep us on our toes, like we never get work here. I know, let's have an ice storm.
And then 4 inches of rain in 30 hours.
Right? I know. Let's try this now. Dave Hamry said the last time we had this in 1973, it snowed 280 inches in February. So I hope your calendar is clear. Massive snow in February because Girdwood's voted and they want 280.
Don't tell them that.
I'm letting you know.
10 inches a day seems like.
10 inches a day seems appropriate. We could ski a lot of how, man.
Yeah, right. I think there's actually one more town hall because the Indian one, the one that was Indian last week was postponed to this week, but I do not remember which day. I think it's Thursday,
Yeah.
but I'm not 100% sure. So there's one more chance.
Indian was last week.
Indian got moved. It was postponed due to weather.
Yeah, but it was moved to last week, Mike. I was there.
Oh, okay. Apologies. Okay. Did you have something?
Yes. I just wanted to say, it's not necessarily land use per se, but I wanted to say that we had a very interesting MOA meeting today with a number of topics coming up that have been consistently of interest to Girdwood, including Holton Hills, the potential for more Girdwood independence, and then the Dark Sky Initiative. All of those conversations ended up being a little thicker and richer, and I think will need to be revisited. So for once, you might want to go out of your way to check the minutes. Because I thought that those were some interesting discussions. Margaret's giving me the stink eye, but anyway.
I would just recommend that people watch the video.
Or watch the
video. The minutes are not really going to show
the
conversation.
Okay. All right. I'll recommend that. And then speaking of safer Seward Highway, I also wanted to say, kind of as part of FCC, I was startled at the last FCC meeting to hear several people state that a general consensus that the community councils are not in favor of a divided highway on the sewer as part of the Safer Seward Highway project. And I thought, I don't know that this community council agrees with that. This is, Mike and I agree that we should go on the agenda. It is on the agenda, but I want everybody to, I would love to hear feedback from the community about if we want a community stance on this, because other communities are taking a stance as a community. So we have said you can write in individually, et cetera, but I didn't feel that I was in a position to say, actually, my community council feels X, because we haven't had that discussion.
Well, and perhaps I was remiss not to include that there is a public comment period open till February.
They just extended
it to 60 days.
60 days. Yeah.
It was the 20th.
And they committed that every comment input would be replied to, and they're doing a very thorough public comment process. So definitely encourage people to educate yourselves on the proposal and comment if you have one, because it is a not insubstantial project that I think is 20 years of construction. So.
And I think $1 billion or thereabouts, isn't it?
Over
yeah. It was $1 billion in
1.4, I think.
Yeah, and counting. Okay, thank you. Committee updates to GBOS. I don't see any of the committees. Oh, sorry, actually, the last part of item number 2 was officers for committees. Do you want to, the staff want to add them?
There's a page in the meeting packet that outlines who has been voted in. And of course, public safety meets quarterly. Their first meeting in the new year is March 10th currently. So we'll find out who will be leading them then.
Thank you. So a segue would be, you can go to any committee updates, and I don't see any of those people online except for Amanda. I don't know if Amanda has anything to add. Okay, doesn't sound like it. So we'll go to standing reports. There's no update to the Girdwood development page. It's the same as it was last month. I haven't seen anything on Parcel H recently. I know there is legal activity going on. And I don't have any updates. I don't have any updates to any of the others. Does anybody else have anything?
Yes, we do have the thing from the Muni meeting just on. Sorry, on the HLB plats, reporting in mid-March or mid-April at the latest, and then there's HLB and the Assembly have to approve it, so they're thinking a 3-month minimum on that.
Yes, so probably this summer for the industrial park.
Yes.
I don't think they've specified the Orca Mountain. It was the industrial park, I think they answered to, but maybe both.
All right, that was unclear to me.
Yeah, I think they were speaking mainly to the industrial park.
Okay.
In the industrial park for the service area lot, I am going to start the application process on that. So that when it does get finalized, we can start the transfer from HLB to the service area for ownership.
Okay, great. Right, we'll move on to item number 5. Checking see if we have any legislators. We do not. Item number 5 with fire.
Chief Weston is not here tonight, but I'll present her slides. So mostly highlights of the 2025. They received Firefighter 2 through a federal grant, which helped get that certification for some of their firefighters. So that's great. Just takes it up to the next level. Rescue 41 was delivered. I saw that truck, that apparatus coming back in today, and it's such a good looking apparatus, and they love it. And so it's really, they're getting used to it. They've had their mannequin, their Sims training, wildfire mitigation day, evacuation plan developed, 2 fire deployments. So that's summer deployments that they deployed the brush truck out to, and then personnel as well, red card training, and then 4 firefighters attending paramedic school through a federal grant. So that has strengthened their EMS response, which is great. Here's the incident calls for December. So this is just the December alone there. What's really nice is the promotions with the new captains over there. Both these captains have been there for a long time, and they've jumped up in rank, and I work with them quite a bit, and great individuals. And then firefighter 2, or 1 there, firefighter 2, Nathan. And then some new firefighters came on and have finished their 6 months of probation. So I feel the field department's really strong over there, and they've done a great job with training. And I'll give a lot of kudos to Chief and Deputy Chief Carhart. Carhart, they have really done a great job reorganizing and strengthening the department on the administrative side. And they've doing a lot of heavy lifting and getting through that, and things are clicking along nicely over there. And it's just a good crew of individuals running the fire department right now. So that's the report right now for fire.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? I was going to ask you a question about the Santa Parade from December. What's the trend year on year? I guess it's, or month to month, I guess it's just happening in December.
Yes. I mean, it's also dependent on weather. So
yes.
Cold Santa Parade this year, but I think they had a good time.
Okay, let's move on to police. See, I don't know if someone is. You just introduce yourself.
Hi, yeah, I'm Officer Jerry Harrod. I'm the police lieutenant at the Whittier Police Department, filling in for Chief Ashay tonight. So I've got it's more, so this report, it's specific just to Girdwood. I kind of left off all the Whittier calls just to be more focused on this area. And for the month of December, it's got all of our call breakdown. We had 208 total calls here in Girdwood. 185 calls were cleared with no reports. 23 were cleared as like investigations or reports taken. Most of the calls were like proactive patrols. There were 30 traffic stops with 10 citations issued. 8 for speeding, 2 for other traffic violations. The average speeding violator was around 15 miles an hour, posted speed limit. There's a list of the other reports as basically as a breakdown in the bullet points of what type of call, how many reports of each one, a little bit of information then there on the most major incidents. Most of it's related to proactive patrol and security checks, just making a high visibility police presence. Not a lot of serious violent crime. And that's something that you can't really indicate in like any kind of trend. It just kind of happens when it happens, even in a small community. But we generally don't see a whole lot of that around here. As far as New Year's Eve, mostly noise complaints. A lot of high visibility patrol. We had extra officers on duty for overtime. Kind of like outside of the general patrolling, we had in December, we had it's called Alert. It's an active shooter training it was hosted by the FBI that we had in Whittier. And that was with the U.S. Forest Service and also Alaska State Parks, park rangers who are our closest supporting agencies in the area. And that was kind of more focused to coordinated response to violent incidents, mainly related to like gun crime. But that just kind of helped us So any kind of response to a major incident like that would be more streamlined with local law enforcement around. John,
Thank you.
answer any questions that anybody might have.
Any questions from the board?
I saw this before your arrival today, Lieutenant Harrod, and thank you for the narrative. And I found even a lot of it interesting, including the location of majority of the calls too. It's just more descriptive. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Being here.
Great to see you in person. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. We'll move on to roads and parks.
Sure. Start off with parks. Like we said, we went from super frozen to soupy within 30 hours. And, all our, one area that took a bit was our Nordic system and all our volunteer time that was put in to put the Nordic trails in. But we did get 4 days of all the trails being in. And then we got the rains and knocked it out, but it has refrozen and now we're getting a cycle of snow and we're hoping that we can get back out there at some point. The overflows are pretty incredible in Moose Meadows. But they have kind of settled in and that crew get out there. But I do want to recognize the volunteers that we have. They're very dedicated and they try to get out there. The 5K is in great shape if you're looking for a place to go ski and what they're doing out there is really great. Between Mark and I, we continue to fill in and handle the year-round trash and mutt mitts. So if you see things out there that need to be addressed, let us know, and we'll try to get to them. We'll continue that till our seasonal staff comes on in the spring. And we've been working with local photographers, Ken Graham and Randy Brandon, to help replace some of the archive photos here of the town photos, back from the 70s up. And they've been helping us get new ones and get them reprinted on metal so they'll last longer. So we appreciate their efforts to pull out the old photos, which are really interesting. Some real interesting archives of Girdwood come out that way in that aspect. We are getting ready for spring, and I am already starting on lumber orders for many of the trail projects and also the Lions Club Pavilion projects. So we hope to get those going. We're getting some yellow cedar out of southeast, and so we want to get ahead on that and get those delivered. So we're moving forward on procurements. I'm getting calcium for dust control and other things. So we're getting all those things moving now at this time that the new year has started in that aspect. And just going through it here. I won't get into too much detail because our report here definitely gives a lot more detail on that aspect. But we are also working through our grants and doing our reportings and getting ready for next summer to work on our trail grants and park grants in that aspect. Margaret does a great job always keeping our websites and social media up to date there. And also as well, there's useful links within the report that take you to like Senator Giesel's a weekly report or ASD or things like that. If you're having a hard time finding different things, you can get to those links through this report as well. Switching over the roads, it's been very eventful. Basically since the 1st of December with the heavy freeze, our drainage took a real hit and really froze up, and it required us to be creative in our response. Our ditches were almost completely full of ice. Because we came out of a very wet spell and then went cold right away, and the mountains were still draining out. And so we spent basically the last 6 weeks either digging out ditches or steam thawing. And then we kind of had a big rush because we had to get ready for a storm that brought us 4 inches of rain in 30 hours. Our biggest concerns were St. Moritz, Hyatt Terrace, Echo Ridge, and Vale. And they've been our problems continuously. We've had to return there 2 or 3 times to address overflow and icing, and then water going out of the ditch lines and things like that. But we were able to get ahead of the storm and had almost everything opened up. We had a few problems, but we were able to contain them and get through that storm. We were mostly concerned about the areas that weren't within our reach. It was the frozen wetlands surrounding homes and things like that. But for the most part, we didn't hear much damage. There was some water, definitely in crawl spaces. There were pumps going on. But for the most part, we got through it and the drainage system worked in that aspect. But we did return the refreeze and we're still out there working. I still have a list of items that we're trying to get through. So, but this snow helps. The problem we have right now is I call it upside down winter, where the ground froze first and it went deep. And then the snow came, and now we got basically an ice cube that the water's trying to get through. We're hoping that the water has enough pressure not to freeze on the way, but we see it doing what it's doing. It will make for interesting spring with that ground frozen. Most of the time we get a blanket and our ground stays thawed for the winter, but we'll see where it goes. But we'll figure it out as it happens. But it was definitely a Groundhog's Day there for a while. And finally this week, I'm kind of feeling like we're on a pace to move forward. So we'll see where it goes. But we thank Western Construction. They've been real flexible with us and coming up with different ideas. I mean, we're using an excavator in the middle of winter, which we usually never do. We've had the steam truck here 25 days. In a normal year, we may have it 3 to 4 days. And so they're keeping that steam truck open, and they have contracts on the hillside as well. And then we also contracted with another steam company from Northern Gravel. And so between the two of them and their availability and letting them be where they need to go with their contracts, we've been able to cover everything. So, and they've worked a lot of hours. So I appreciate the early mornings and late nights that they put in to help us get through this period. So, talking about major projects, we are right now ready to put the RFP out for design for the Ruane project. They replaced the 2 culverts down there with a large box culvert. The EPA right now is reviewing that RFP since this is a federally funded and they're the grantee. They have to review it. So we are waiting for them. We should get that back this week. And if they say everything looks good within that RFP, we can put it out in the street and get the design going. We'll be working on design all through this year. Luckily, the survey is done. And then we'll put it out for bid next winter and construct in 27 with that. So we're just going through that process there. It's much more complicated when you deal with federal funding versus state funding or local funds. It just takes a longer process to get the review process done and then go through the steps. We actually had to bring on a special contractor just to handle the EPA for us. So that's what it takes to get through that. The Winter Creek Trail Bridge, we are ready to go out to bid, and we have sent it to purchasing. So we are going to put that out to bid and see where it comes in. Every day, you just don't know where steel prices are going to be and what tariffs are going to be and where the steel is going to come from. So that's a huge factor, but we need to put it out there and find out what's going on. We did receive a letter from the U.S. Forest Service with their commitment to be partners, as they have been. We kind of spelled out what we've done with them to come up to this date, and that they're going to take over the ownership of the bridge in the long run. So that was one piece that we needed from the U.S. Forest Service. And then we're going to work out a formal agreement with them, just to get something more with signature on it. But they gave a letter of intent, and that really satisfied the city in their partnership to take over the ownership of the bridge once it's constructed. So we will have 2 things moving forward, hopefully here soon, in procurement, and we'll see where they land there. So expenses. At this point in time, all our budgets are right where they needed to be. We're looking probably mostly at surpluses. The one thing that we have not been charged yet is the intergovernment charges. So what the other departments within the municipality charge us to serve the service area. So we should start seeing those coming out, but the numbers within here represent where we're at. And you can see like it shows 76% spent. Well, we haven't had the IGC spent yet. So that's going to bump us up into the 90s once those IGCs get charged in that area. And but everything is kind of close to where it needs to be at this time of year. Our lowest IGC department is the police. We only have a small one there for $200 and something, and that hasn't been charged yet. But otherwise, everything's looking there. I did get finally. They finished the 24 books for the municipality, and we got our undesignated fund balance back, which is the funds that are basically our savings account. You know, when we have surpluses, it falls into that account, and what isn't needed to cover our required, like the bond and emergency fund and things like that. We're looking at about $700,000 savings. And that's a nice number. And I think for the most part, we've paid off Engine 41. So with the surpluses we saw from last year, and what was happening is that the money that was supposed to go to the loan to pay off Engine 41 was falling into that account. So we may get out of not paying any interest on Engine 41 by the time it comes to service. So we hope Engine 41 will be here. We're hoping for this quarter. Most likely it's going to be the early second quarter that it should arrive. I was going to meet today with Chief to find out if they've heard anything lately, but we heard that they are in production, and that our engine is one of 8 that's being bought by the fire department, as a bulk sale. So they should start coming soon. So that's good news. So it's nice to know that we got that done, and we can start saving towards the next apparatus, which I think is a tender that they need. So anyways, overall finances for the service area look fairly strong at this point in time. And that's all I have at this point. I think any questions?
I think I missed what you said about the undesignated fund. That's the 2024 or 2025?
2024. So coming out of 2024, it looked like we had about 700,000 in savings.
Okay. And when do we expect the numbers to come out for 2025? It's like May-ish.
Good question. So, right now we're still in what they call the 13th month. So we're closing out 25. So bills are being paid. We have to get all our invoicing in by the 31st. And then at that point, usually we do not see that number until after first quarter revisions. So we usually see it sometime midsummer. And it's good to see they got the 24 closed. Hopefully they can get through 25 faster and be on a back to normal pace as it used to be.
Thanks. Any other questions from the board, please?
Maybe it's too early to ask this question, but is it too early to ask the question of, is there anything that could be done to alleviate the situation that developed over the last month? And in this case, I don't mean like just change the weather, because obviously the weather's going to do whatever it's going to do. But it was really noticeable that the bulk of that fell on one set of shoulders. And that doesn't seem like a good process or a good safety net for the community. So is it too early to ask that question?
It may be. I mean, I think about it, and I think the point you're getting to is it puts a lot of work on me, and sometimes weather demands, and usually we have these episodes and they'll be quicker. This was just like a slow. It was what was happening. The workload I was taking on was similar to what the ice was doing. It was just like this slow build, and then it took forever to come down. And I do think about it, like, do we need a dedicated road person in that aspect? And sometimes I think yes, and then sometimes I think they'll be like the Maytag watchman just sitting around waiting for something. We may not have enough work at times, and so, but it does at some point take a point for the service area to say, if I was to leave this position, as to how would you balance it out? Would you expect a new person to take on those workloads? Because when I originally took the job, it was basically road and parks. And then since then it has grown into much more. So I think it's an evaluation thing that needs to happen over the years coming to figure out where does this go. So, but yeah, it did rear its head. And at times it was a lot. It'd probably been easier if it was summer and it wasn't -40 out there when we were dealing with all this stuff. So, but no, I appreciate that question.
Okay. Yeah. Again, it's I think what's interesting, if it had been one event, one very quick event, it's probably the sort of event in terms of scale that would have resulted in, an emergency declaration or something similar. But because it was over the course of several weeks, it was a slow moving problem.
It was.
You didn't quite get the attention you probably should have done outside of here.
And I did inform the administration about it, and they became very supportive. Had people down here I'd never had down here before, and they wanted to see the problem. And we started first, and now it's reared its head in Anchorage and then in Eagle River as well. And Anchorage has more problems because their creeks are so confined by the developments up there, like Little Campbell Creek, things like that. So yeah, we've all been kind of working together to figure out solutions.
Thank you. Any other questions? Not seeing any. Let's go on to library. And I know you wanted to say something about
that's
library.
okay. Thank you for letting me cover that. Katerina says it's very hard for her to make these meetings. So I just wanted to call out again that once again, our amazing library is doing very unusual programs, or more precisely, some level of programs that I haven't seen necessarily in the past. And I also wanted to say that the author visit actually packed the chairs and they sold out. So how cool is that? They were sitting around worrying about nobody showing up, and they sold out on all their books. And so there's another author visit. I don't know if I'm going to go to the one for the Please Don't Poop in the Tub, but that is on February 7th. Valentine's Day crafts, estate planning, recipe swap, public community resource fair. So look it up. They're doing cool stuff, you guys. Thank you.
Give a shout out to how cool it is. And then it's not always well attended, but I've gone to a few of them and they are fantastic. And Katerina has such a level of dedication. So it's a huge resource that we have here. And I encourage people to go. Especially Valentine's Day craft, because I'm going to make it. I'm excited about it. It's like my favorite part of GBOS, to find out about the things we can do.
Thank you. Okay, checking, we don't have. Okay. So let's go on to public comment. Public comment, persons offering public comment state their name and location. Public comments limited to 3 minutes per person on subjects not listed on the agenda. Public comment. Amanda, please come ahead.
Hi, Amanda Tuttle here again. I don't have anything specifically written down, but really what's of my concern is our property tax increases, as I've mentioned to Zach Johnson. As you mentioned, it doesn't seem like we really have much voice at the municipal level other than just begging and pleading. It would be great to see maybe something coming out from this board to say 136% increase in property taxes over 2 years is unjust, particularly when you were flooding the entire GC2 and GC1 districts in our community. That means that there's no local community commercial development other than kind of what the Ellis's are doing right now. We've got problems and we need support from this board. The people who do live here are being taxed out of their homes is what it's coming to, which also means that small businesses are also being taxed. And if you don't have the ability to employ every single employee that you need to own a small business in this community, that means that your business shuts. That's what has happened in this community. I'm paying almost $15,000 a month just to house employees right now, to keep my doors open. We have killed the local economy completely. It's dead. That means that if you are not a multi-million-dollar business owner, you are not coming into this community. We have no local community development going on. If you can't employ and house your employees, you do not have business development. Now we got this excessive tax increase. This is my primary residence, 136% in 2 years, you guys. I'm not the only one screaming. I've got people reaching out to me every day, particularly those in Old Girdwood, because mind you, they're also flooding our property because it's behind the dam and there's no relief for the water to leave. That is trapped, which is a stormwater issue. We need the support of this board to stand up for the residents who actually live here. And I would really love to see that.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Not seeing any, thank you. Move on to old business, item number 6, agenda item LUC 151206, multiple topics under FCC. First one is LUC recommendation for GBOS to void GBOS vote in November 2025, based on difference in content of LUC and GBOS motions. And then we have an update in the FCC bylaws and discussion of FCC membership. So who wants to take the LUC item?
Well, I can start, I guess, the LUC. Well, I think it's right there. LUC recommended that we reconsider the vote from November based on some discrepancies between the two votes, but also based on some irregularities with the vote. And what I'd like to say about this is that we were just, this is a tough situation for everybody, and that not all of us are super familiar with every single Robert's rules, or more precisely in this case, the muni requirements for disclosure. And so it was just apparently a mistake that was made. And so this is LUC asking GBOS to reconsider the mistake that was made.
Question. So with that, thank you, Jennifer, for the clarifying. Land, you said for process in the past, there was a timing for reconsideration. So since that time is well over, what do we do with this kind of ask?
Actually, it's pretty clear from Robert's rules that if there is a mistake made of this kind, that you have to do it right at this point. You have to do it as soon as you bring the topic up. But that is a good question. It has to be brought up immediately. And then, by the way, we should probably move, since we are discussing this, we should have a motion on the table, and potentially the motion should be exactly what LUC asked, that or did you have a different?
Well, I just want to make a point of order because I think the critical issue was our treatment of conflict of interest. And we briefly discussed it at the meeting in November. And there was a differing interpretation of what the actual code reads. And you could pull it up if you want to. It's AMC 1.15060 Delta, which there's a shall statement in there that members prior to participation in official action, the public servant shall disclose private or financial interests for determination of whether they are substantial. And the feedback in the meeting was that there was no requirement to disclose any relationships. However, that left a member voting on his appointment or on their appointment, which is clearly a conflict of interest. So we failed to uphold municipal code. And so I move that we what is my exact motion? I think it's necessary that we uphold code and we're consistent as a board with the way that we treat conflict of interest. Specifically, since I've been on here, we've had a number of varying interpretations of it. And so before we move on, I will invite disclosure of any relationship for treatment by the board. And if none is made, then I'll make a different motion.
Okay. So I'll speak to this briefly in my role as a member. I think the confusion here is, first of all, I don't agree with your analysis because, well, I do agree with your quoting of the code because that's accurate. It's about private and financial conflicts. Public interests are not private interests. We do not we do not ask for recusal when we're voting on whether we want to become the chair or not. We do not vote on recuse. We do not recuse when we're deciding whether we want to be land use supervisor. This is all part of the public state. This is part of your public actions.
I'm sorry.
It's not something that
Are you still chair?
I was speaking, as I said, as a member, just responding to that particular thing. So I will.
Chair.
I will go back to chair, but I can reassign the chair if we come up with that again.
No, I'm sorry. The point of order is I am asking, and the way point of order is, it's a parliamentary question. I'm asking who is chair.
At the moment, I am chair.
So before this conversation goes any further, I would like to question that because I don't think that is appropriate for you to chair this topic.
Okay, I am chair of this topic. So if you want to challenge that, there is a process to do so.
So I am challenging that. I am kind of sad to have to do so because I think it should be abundantly clear that there's a conflict of interest here. But I don't see any other choice. So I'm sorry, but you have to challenge.
Okay, so what's your motion?
I move that we request that you vacate the chair.
Okay.
Second.
Can I get a second? Okay. I do not have the parliamentary rules in front of me. Can you tell me what the next steps are? Actually, I'm going to request, there is something in front. Can I request for process point of view? Because Representative Holland just joined.
Sure.
Can we put this on hold?
Yes, absolutely.
And while you're checking this, we can go to Representative Akai. You want to give your report? We're busy checking some Robert's Rule issues here. Cannot hear you. We still can't hear you.
It's showing that it's not on.
Is this microphone?
Yeah, thank you.
Great, thanks for letting me know. Sorry, I've got, I'm down in Juneau, I've got two microphones on this. Yeah, so I understand I'm kind of jumping into the middle of something, so I'll be brief. Down in Juneau, of course, the session's underway. I am busy with some different pieces of legislation right now. We've got hearings this week on the right-of-way utility wildfire bill I'm working on. We've got a railroad land transfer bill we're introducing on Thursday for Whittier. And we're also working on an ADA-related bill that is being heard this week. And other than that, the CAPSIS projects, I understand that perhaps we don't have any more from Girdwood, but I'll continue to support that any way you'd like, and working, of course, with Senator Diesel's office on that. Beyond that, we just got a bunch of snow down here, and I'm just going fast and furious. This second session has started off at full throttle, and look forward to any comments or questions that people have about bills. We're trying to send updates by email. If you're not already signed up, I'll put my contact information in the link, but I think people know how to get a hold of me if they have any questions, and I'm certainly happy to take any questions now if there are any, but understand you also are trying to get back to some business in the middle of.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? No, I think I don't think we have any questions here unless there's any from the audience. I'm not seeing any from the community. Thank you very much. I'll let you get back to the voting. Thank you. Do you have an update for us, Kyle?
Yeah, I'm just getting through it here. To remove a chair under Robert's rules, a member makes a motion to suspend the rules, requiring a requiring a second and a 2/3 vote, after which the vice president or the co-chair presides temporarily while the issue is debated, with the goal being to replace the chair for the meeting. Often using a motion to elect a temporary chair if the main motion passes. So the first step is to make a motion to suspend the rules, requiring a second, and then 2/3 have to vote in favor. So majority vote, 2/3 majority vote.
Do we hear a motion?
Yes, I move to suspend the rules and remove Mike Edgington from the chair position for the remainder of this meeting.
Okay, and a second?
Second.
Okay, been motioned and second. So this is presumably, is this non-debatable? Not debatable?
This is non-debatable.
Non-debatable.
Non-debatable, it seemed.
Okay, so let's move straight to a roll call.
Okay.
Wait. I think we do need a clarification on who is voting, because it is quite clear that the chair should not vote in this situation.
Okay.
And then,
Let me look that one up. It says, yes, the chair can vote on a motion to remove them if they are a member of the body and the vote is taken by ballot, or if the vote will challenge the outcome, that aspect.
Okay, so we'll move on to roll call.
Okay, Jennifer Wingard,
yes.
Kelly Ocknick,
Yes.
Brianna Sullivan,
Yes.
Mike Edgington.
No.
Motion passes 3-1. And now back to, now the process is to elect a temporary chair through a main motion.
I move that Jen Wingard will fulfill the temporary chair role
For this item.
for this item and for the rest of the meeting.
Okay, I need a second.
I will second. I've checked the rules and I can do that. So,
Okay. I guess we just go to vote. I don't have a chair, do I? So, let's go to vote. Kelly Ocknick.
Yeah.
Brianna Sullivan,
Yes.
Mike Edgington,
Yes.
Jennifer Wingard.
yes.
That motion passes. Jennifer is chair for the rest of the meeting.
symbolically hand the gavel over.
Okay, now we return to the issue of having a disconnect between the GBOS vote and the LUC vote, and that remains an issue regardless. So
I'm worried that Mike Edgington has a personal conflict of interest because while a member is allowed to vote on their own appointment, they are not allowed to vote on the legitimacy of their appointment under question. And that we need to establish this before we can move on with the topic. So I'm going to establish whether or not a substantial conflict of interest exists.
well, I'm going to have to second that because I also think this also could have been done as a point of order, and had it been done that way, it wouldn't have required a second. So either way, it becomes something that has to be discussed. So so that's where we're at. We're at the question of conflict of interest. And so for that, would we by any chance have a sheet? I can also look it up, but
I'm sorry.
I can.
Oh, I'm sorry. I missed who seconded that.
Well, I should have raised it as a point of order. And then it would open the discussion, but because it would open a discussion regardless if I raised it as a point of order, Jen seconded it. But basically, the origin.
Hard to stay on top of all this stuff in the moment. Sorry, guys.
But I do think that before we can go to the questions, we need disclosure of the relationship from the person who has it. That is the shall statement in the municipal code.
Yep.
Yes, so do I'm going to take it over that.
So this puts the easiest way to do this is if we can have a statement of here's what's up. And it's preferable that it come from you. So it doesn't have to, but it's preferable.
Can I just check the questions?
Sure.
I just want to make sure it got the wording right. Right. Okay. So it says here, the question before the chair, this is something the chair would say, is does the member, me, have a substantial private interest, including a financial or personal interest in the matter to be described? So I can go through. Detailed description is when I was...
sorry, I don't mind taking...
Sorry, yeah, let's put it in the middle.
Sure, sure.
Detailed description is back in 2021 when I was co-chair and land use supervisor. I had a discussion. We had discussions about the FCC. We recommended to turn up to the FCC for meetings. The FCC, when I went to one meeting, the FCC manager said we need to assign a delegate. I had a discussion with my co-chair, and so as land use, I decided to be the delegate. I appointed myself as a delegate as the co-chair, which is what chairs do. And that is all minuted, and it was minuted in the meeting, I believe, in March 2021. It might have been April 2021. So the minutes state that I was serving as delegate. It is, however, not a private interest, and it's not a financial or personal interest. It's a public interest. So the answer to question 2 is it is neither a financial nor personal interest.
Point of order.
Sorry.
Can I get to the end of the 6 questions? I'll answer 6 questions. Okay, well, you can ask questions. I don't mind. We'll do it.
Okay, let me just one point of clarification here. What is under discussion right now is not re-adjudicating the whole thing. It's like none of us want to do that. I'm sorry, I presume.
Maybe.
Right, okay. What is currently under discussion is very simply, is there a conflict of interest in having a member vote in a circumstance in which the outcome of the vote will affect their position on an outside board and also on their perception within that outside board? that is the simple part of what is being, that is simply what is being discussed now. Not anything additional.
Point of order, what I heard is a lot of opinion there. It doesn't, I don't believe it does affect the position outside board, but I think your opinion of that is well noted. I think it's been repeated many times.
Okay.
So if we can go back to the questions, perhaps.
Sure.
I think I've definitely answered one, and I was attempting to answer two.
Is the interest financial or personal?
Neither.
So, okay. That is a point of opinion, but I appreciate your answer. For number 3, who holds the interest?
There isn't a personal or private interest or a financial or personal interest.
So may I clarify that you do not view it as a personal interest, that whether or not you were elected on the board affects whether or not you should have been treasurer, and then your current position as president of the board, clearly you would not have been had you. So you're saying that that is not a personal interest. Can you clarify that?
That's a misstatement of the reality. When the board makes their decision, or when the FCC made their decision on electing me, that became the status quo. So it's not possible to go back and change the past. It's minuted that I was the FCC delegate in LUC minutes, and I don't think we're going back and changing the past here. So I think your opinion is, should there have been a different process, we're not written process, which we never had written many years ago, should we go back and retroactively change process? But so there is still no, I would say there is no personal or private interest.
I hear your answer to that. Okay, thank you for your answer to that. I would like to just real quickly reflect that the LUC vote does reflect something different than what was just stated. The LUC vote specifically said that we had not had a delegate since 2021. And that was, again, just the LUC vote. It's not my opinion about the vote, it's the vote. I think that given that you have said that there is no interest, that in your mind, that then voids question 4 of when the interest arose, or how the matter before the body impacts the interest. So I think we're now at the point of the chair deciding first, and then this body voting as needed. Let me get first, though, to just clarify and make sure that we do everything by the book. Do you believe your interest prevents you from placing the public interest on the official action above your private interest?
Well, I don't believe I have a private interest, so I do not believe it prevents me.
Okay. Do you believe that you should be excused from participation in the official action on this matter?
No, I don't.
Okay. Based on the LUC vote, I have to disagree. And so my ruling, which obviously can be challenged, is that you should not be voting on this matter, that you definitely have an interest. And it's clear from Robert's rules, I did do a lot of work on this, including contacting the Alaska Municipal League, which is the group that trained us on parliamentary procedure. And there's a difference between a Robert's Rules of Order and voting for a position that everybody else could also qualify, and having your position on an outside board be challenged. And that is absolutely what's happening here. So there is, I view, a very clear personal interest in this. This decides whether or not you should have been treasurer and been acting as a delegate, and then currently acting as president of that board. That is my rule.
Point of order here. You keep referring to the LUC vote. The LUC vote, again, the LUC can vote. We could vote for the sky being yellow or green or any color we want to. It doesn't have to follow any facts. I think that would be challengeable if we adopt it, because the LUC vote does not reflect minuted actions from LUC in the past, and stating that it's different now, or we decide what happened in the past is not what happened in the past, isn't a valid action. So obviously you can do anything you want, but I think the risk is here that you go down the path of of making actions which are not valid and very challenging.
I appreciate that. Having viewed the minutes myself and having combed through 4 or 5 years of minutes, I know for a fact that some of what you say I interpret differently, but that I found no record of a vote, nor did I find, nor did FCC ever provide official paperwork. I stick by my decision based on that, but I appreciate and I understand why your opinion is different. I stick with my ruling and I stick with the LUC vote. All right, based on that.
Based on that ruling, I move that we void the November 25th vote with regard to the FCC at UBOC due to failing to uphold the municipal code and thus violating it. So I move that we void that November 25th vote and redo it.
And again, I will call back and read this rules board that I can second, particularly when we're down to a reduced board, and I will second. Okay.
So do we have to go back to the?
Do we have any, no, I have a question. Do we have any discussion or can we vote?
We just need to bring up the original motion from November 2025 and vote on it.
Okay, so we have the original LUC vote. I would have to look up the minutes for that.
The minute, oh no, it's, yeah, we just need to pull up the original motion and that was.
All right, so we are going to vote on the original motion from
because we've
LUC. Is it possible to have that pulled up?
Which date was it?
Do we have to void the vote first
Maybe in the packet.
before we can read his good? Let's do that. I move that we void the November 2025 vote.
Or actually, why don't we move to, okay, yeah, sure.
So
Sorry, that's your vote.
yeah, no, I'm moving that we void the vote from November 2025 with regard to the FCC due to failure to uphold conflict of interest policy for the municipality.
All right, 1 second.
I think that's pretty similar to what your original.
Yeah, then after we void this vote, then I'll make a motion to reconsider the vote.
Okay. So you want to look at the vote from November 25?
Actually, I think we need to do first to just vote.
The motion is to void that one.
Okay, so what I'd like to do here is just
look at it
on this unless we need to, no, we're
Okay.
voiding the mistake vote and let's make this as
Without
quick and painless as possible.
Okay.
But we will, when we go back to, then what we have to do, my understanding is after all the research has been, then we need to revote on the initial motion that came from LUC, which is what we should have done. Like, that was another part of the process, got a little foul.
So that's the one we need to pull up.
That's when we need it. But for now, let's just do a vote on
Voiding.
voiding the existing, the past vote.
Okay. Kelly Ocknick,
Yes.
Brianna Sullivan,
Yes.
Mike Edgerton.
I ruled it.
Oh, you're accused. Oh, sorry. Jennifer Wingard,
Yes.
motion passes 3-0.
Okay.
So can we pull up the motion? I move to reconsider the motion presented at November 2025 with regard to the FCC and vote on it.
For the November meeting from PBOS.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I move that to approve the motion from LUC that GBOS requested the FCC.
Actually,
Wait, no, that's not the right one. Oh, yeah, so GBOS moves to adopt the following language from the LUC. Whereas there is no evidence of an official appointment or election of an FCC delegate from Girdwood since 2020, the Girdwood Land Use Committee agrees that Girdwood does not have a current delegate to the FCC, and Girdwood has not had an FCC delegate since January of 2021.
And we need to make one slight, if I could suggest an amendment to that. We could opt to hold the initial part of, or the other part of the GBOS vote, which rather than number one, it would say Girdwood's current delegate as decided in November, or sorry, excuse me, as approved by LUC is right. But Girdwood, we could, well, actually just strike number one altogether.
No,
So
I made a motion. You have to second it.
I will second it. Sorry. I will second
Okay.
it.
Chair can't second.
Proposing-
Chair can't second.
Chair can second.
Chair can second.
Chair can second. With a reduced board, chair can second. Sorry, you must have missed that part of the conversation before. With a reduced board, chair can second. Chair cannot second with larger boards. Chair cannot second in a situation in which you have a, anyway, there's a number, but in this situation, yes, you can with a reduced board.
Okay.
So I'm going to amend this motion to say GBOS moves to adopt the language, but number one should say, as of November 2025, Girdwood did not have a current delegate to the Federation of Community Councils. And Girdwood has not had an FCC delegate since January of 2021.
I'll second that. And if we don't have any discussion, we could to a vote. Does anyone want to discuss? All right, let's vote.
Kelly Ocknick,
Yes.
Brianna Sullivan,
No.
Jennifer Wingard.
Yes.
Motion passes 2-1.
We have one other little piece of cleanup that needs to be done, and that is we need a motion to appoint the current LUC chair to make sure that we agree with LUC that the current LUC, sorry, make a motion that the current LUC supervisor can serve as the FCC delegate.
Okay, I move that the current LUC supervisor can serve as the FCC delegate for GBOS.
And I will second it, and let's vote.
I have a question on discussion after.
Oh, sure, sorry.
Since you're doing this process now over here, should we designate a substitute? So the sub could be anyone from GBOS or land use? Was that part of a discussion a couple months back?
So yeah, LUC specifically opted not to put in a substitute, and I don't want to opine too much about this. So
Okay, I just
I will
remember
only
if there
say-
was something else that in one discussion, there was an idea for a substitute. Just wondering, now would be a good time to do it. Or it could be a GBOS member.
I will say, just again, not my opinion. This is not my opinion. If we do that, we're once again at odds with an LUC vote.
Oh, okay. Well, for future discussion, I think that'd be a good thing on most motion appointments for representatives, to have a backup person, because there's always conflicting meetings. But I hear you on simplifying.
Okay,
That's
thank you.
something that could go on the LUC agenda because they have to, this topic stays on that agenda. anyways.
Correct.
So maybe add that.
Right.
To that.
Okay.
'Cause I
Maybe
do
their,
agree.
yeah, maybe their room will change opinion from different time.
Okay. Do we have any other further discussion? I appreciate the point. Well taken. Vote.
Kelly Ocknick,
Yes.
Brianna Sullivan,
Yes.
Jennifer Wingard.
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0.
Okay. Moving on to the update on FCC bylaws. I
Can I point of
Yes.
information? Was the recusal just for that first part
Exactly.
of the whole thing?
Exactly.
Okay,
So
so I'm back up.
back on.
Thank you.
Nope, the motion was that you stay as chair.
Yeah, but I'm back on.
Sorry.
Oh, recusal. Oh, okay, sorry. I thought it was chair.
Thank you, but yes. Thank you for clarifying. Okay, so the FCC, Margaret, did we get the strike through? Do we have a?
In the packet.
It's in the packet. All right. This
Keep going.
has been on the agenda, but has not been,
An online packet.
oh, online packet. Thank you. Thank you. I even asked for it, so yeah, I've gone through it too. This is what it is. Excuse me. LUC has not yet discussed these bylaw changes per se. It has been mentioned as new business that has not yet been discussed. We can choose to discuss it or not tonight, and I'm also happy to have anybody speak to them if you would like.
I would prefer to have LUC discuss and send recommendations before taking it up as a body, personally.
I can speak to it briefly. The draft 2 wasn't actually available when for the last NUC meeting. It was only published last week. So this just came out last week, and feedback is being collected from both community councils and individual delegates through at least to March. It'll be a discussion topic at the February FCC meeting, and the vote will be March at the earliest. May even be later than that, depending if there are any further questions and clarifications or recommended changes. So I think there's plenty of time for LEC to look at it. There are some slightly more readable versions of this. This is the strict strike-through version from draft 1. There's also just a plain version of draft 2, and there's several guides to draft 2.
Yeah, so in the meeting packet, I included all of the various links from the FCC. So those people who want to go and poke around on the FCC website, it's actually up.
There are some things which summarize it rather than having to go through all the whole document.
Yeah, so on this page, anybody who wants to can go onto the FCC's bylaw page and take a look at the various formats.
And this also means that we will be able to discuss this further at our next meeting.
I just have a question of clarification with what you said, Mike. There was version 1 and this is version 2. Does this document show only the changes from version 1, or does this document show the changes from the original bylaws?
The original bylaws are very different. They haven't been changed for over 20 years. There was a tiny change 20 years ago, but then
Sorry.
This is only between version 1 and version 2.
And when was version 1 approved?
Version 1 wasn't approved. It was a draft that was introduced back in September.
Okay, so we don't have anything that compares the existing bylaws to the proposed changes.
Yeah, you could look at the existing bylaws as a separate document and look at the proposed bylaws.
Okay, but
it doesn't make sense to do a line by line. Yeah, you could delete the whole of the original and replace it with new.
Okay.
That's the easiest.
There is actually a clearer one on it.
Okay.
But this one was specifically requested, or the one that was on. Yeah, okay. And sorry.
Would this be on old business again, just this item because we want to respond to it with edits or something?
Exactly.
Okay.
The FCC, I think Mike already mentioned, the FCC specifically has asked for feedback about this. And so that will let us decide if we have feedback.
Thank you. I figure I scanned it and there's a lot there, but if we want to time it with land use or not, that's just see it next month, I guess.
Okay. So do we have anything further on the update on the FCC bylaws? Okay, then in that case, I'm going to move on to the FCC membership. And what I would like to say about where land use is on this is that land use has discussed it, but not made a decision. And there was an interesting conversation about pros and cons.
Yeah, and again, I propose that we wait for feedback from land use before we take it up as body.
But they did, they sound like they did give feedback 2 weeks ago at their meeting.
The discussion at the meeting 2 weeks ago was to take it up at the next meeting to discuss it in more depth. And so I think it's premature for this body to take it up until that body takes it up formally.
Okay. Actually, you know what? You're bringing up a really good thing. You know what it is? This is another one of those circumstances, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but this is another one of those circumstances where it got on new business. It was new business on LUC last.
Okay.
And we have it on old business. So we're slightly off sync.
So, all right. They mentioned it, but not.
No, that's all right.
Okay.
Okay. Do we have anything further on this?
Yeah, there's a nuance about the FCC membership, which is interesting. So the old bylaws and draft of the new bylaws both say that all community councils that are established and recognized are members. So I don't think there isn't a mechanism for a community council to opt out. There's a mechanism for a community council not to send a delegate. So effectively, the discussion of the FCC membership is just do not appoint a delegate, which we already have done. So we'd have to rescind that or take that back or decide not to appoint a delegate. That's the ways to have non-participation. It's not like the membership is just given.
All right. Point well taken. I think we can adjust.
Yeah, so we can
So we can call that discuss having an FCC delegate.
delegate, yeah.
I wouldn't mind if we didn't, but okay.
Regardless, LUC should take it up
LUC.
and recommend to this body. And I prefer that we maintain that
Okay.
order of flow.
Do we have any other discussion on this? Can we move on? All right. Consider item number 7 under old business. Consider requesting amendment to 2026-0003, amend AMC 21.5 and 20.15 to ease restrictions on agricultural uses and food production in Anchorage Bowl, Chapter 9. And Mike, I'd love to have you speak to this.
Yeah, well, again, this is another case where we've got it in old business, but I just had it on new business. So we should probably what we should do is wait a month. It's gone to planning and zoning. It hasn't gone to the assembly.
I thought it was going to be there soon.
It's not been introduced to the assembly yet, but it
Okay.
has been at planning and zoning. So we have a little bit of time before it goes to the assembly for action. And that's a time we can use to basically request. We can request that it's effectively added. I mean, we can start it ourselves now as well. And now we have that power. So what this does is because of issues around food production in Alaska in general, this opens up some options under land use for doing cottage food production. And it applies just in the Anchorage Bowl. The question is this beneficial to Girdwood? And I think LUC hasn't weighed in yet on that. I think there's an argument that some of the technical details would have to be refined and would have to be worked through. But I think there's an argument to open up cottage food production in Girdwood. It's beneficial to us as well and shouldn't just be restricted to the bowl.
So may I ask, are you saying that you would personally be in favor of this, or that you would be leaning towards it based on what you know about this thus far?
Based on what I understand so far, I'd be leaning towards including these either in Girdwood Code or Girdwood Land Use Code, or just putting a reference back to these changes.
And one more clarifying question. Are you saying that currently we would not be included?
Currently, we are not included, and the thing that was presented at planning and zoning only applied to Anchorage Bowl, does not apply to Girdwood.
Okay.
So it doesn't open up those options in Girdwood.
Just a clarification, is that something, what's the mechanism by which we would have this extended to us? Is it Title 20, this is like black hole for me, is it Title 21? Is it somehow, like, what does that look like?
It would be a change in Title 20. So because this has gone through planning and zoning reviewed it, discussed it, recommended it. It then goes to the assembly. The assembly can take it up and make amendments. They can also make revisions to the whole. They can just introduce a new version of the ordinance as well. And what we probably want to do, because it's technically complex, there are lots of pieces changing. What we would probably want to do is get the help of an assembly member to draft an S version that includes these provisions within Girdwood.
Okay, so include it in the main motion that the assembly is taking up as an S version.
That would probably be the better path, yes, rather than doing it for them. And or even amend it before then.
Yeah, okay.
There are a couple of different paths to do that.
So then when would we take this up as a body to ask for that amendment, or we just ask our?
Because of the timing with land use, I'd recommend that we let land use take a look at this.
Okay.
And if they have objections or they have comments or they have anything else, we can take that on and then do our resolution.
Same thing for the last two. We asked land use to treat it as.
Yeah, so it'll be our next meeting.
I agree.
Thank you for your work on this. It's really nice to have someone with a close eye on what the assembly is up to, and for always asking the question of, are you considering Girdwood? Because clearly it really helps if we do that. So thank you very much for that. Do we have anything further on this? Okay. Discuss appointments / volunteer to serve on the Wildland Urban Interface Community Action Team. And please correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought we had kind of thought we covered this a little bit.
You're right, but I'm glad it's on because I never made a motion. I don't think we did because I wanted to hear from other committees, and even the fire board. It was brought up, and I don't know if anyone over there is interested, but their meeting is tonight, which conflicts, which is why I wouldn't get it to be online and attending it an hour and a half ago. So I would like to move that the Girdwood Board of Supervisor, Fire Department Supervisor be the appointee for WUI-CAT. And any substitute would be on GBOS or a willing participant from another committee. That second. Yeah, thank you.
So I have a question about that, because I don't want to necessarily grow, we are growing these roles bigger and bigger. So I have wondered about, like, could we maybe appoint you separate from your position specifically? Like, I just am hesitant to grow the role of the fire supervisor. And also, I don't know, like, is this our job to take this over? I guess I'm having a little bit of a question about jurisdiction. Like, do we get to decide who this person is? I'm really happy with having you step in and do it. Is this a circumstance where we have the say?
Right.
Interested in board feedback about that.
Well, I appreciate your question to the chair, because it seemed like the people at this meeting would just happen to be someone from their community council. I don't know. Or they were stand-ins because they said, our president's not here, but I am so-and-so, and these are my questions. And it was only that one meeting for the big plan, the action plan that was already passed. So because I read it and understood more about it, and of course, Chief Weston would understand it even better, like they are way more qualified to speak to something like that than me. And anyone just jumping into this role is not going to maybe do anything except listen at the meeting and give a report. So anyway, just to say that this could be like a floating thing too, because it took time to even know what the WUI-CAT was. So I would actually be more comfortable if someone from the fire department wanted to be on it, but we are more of the voice of the community council. So that's why GBOS sounded like appropriate.
Yeah, I think it makes sense, especially because then there's a formal mechanism by which the report out occurs at this meeting, which is what we discussed last time, that whoever is serving would need to be approved by GBOS so that we don't get into, any confusion there, and that there was a built-in mechanism by which the report out would occur. So in that spirit, I do support that it would be the fire supervisor, and we could even put in language that said, or somebody they delegate in their absence, keeping it still on the fire supervisor to bring the update, back to this meeting, even if they couldn't attend. Because I do think that continuity to bring the feedback into this room is the critical element that having a GBOS member achieves.
I think I'm leaning towards actually Jen's suggestion of appointing Brianna as an individual rather than the fire department supervisor, mostly because of actually the comments you made. I saw the work you did on the CWPP and the related issues, and there's a lot of learning. And this probably isn't something which you could have as a floating position where just whoever's free that week goes. I think there's a lot of background we need to work on, and you've already done that. So partly because of that, and partly for not to load on additional roles for supervisors, I'd actually be happy with appointing you as an individual.
I would agree with that, with the provision that in the individual role, whether it's Fran or anybody else, would still report through the fire supervisor into GBOS.
Yeah, it's obviously easy.
So then the fire supervisor stays the point of contact, even though they're not not necessarily the delegate.
That makes sense.
Thank you. That all makes me feel better about the whole thing, because I would feel unfair to have someone just land there and not know what they're talking about for some kind of mitigation in 2027. That's very upsetting that, well, it was actually in the CWPP and we can do something, or a random example, but I've done.
I mean,
So should we, sorry.
Do you want to make that as a motion, or I can phrase it as a motion if you prefer.
I was just gonna, you were literally sitting in my mind. I was just gonna say, do we need to update the motion? So do you want to give it a go?
Do we have a motion on the table?
You do.
I made it, but I can rescind it
Do you want to rescind it?
I'll rescind my motion at the second or
I'll
read.
second the rescission.
So move that we appoint Brianna Sullivan as the delegate for the WUI-CAT and for her to report through the fire supervisor. Back to GVOS.
I second that.
And I just have a quick clarifying question. So it has been your experience that there is a representational element to this, Brianna, or at the very least that there is also a kind of a background knowledge component to this that's important.
I do, and it is a fairly new group that Kai started, but I think that it's grown at its largest right before the CWPP, or at least that's when they got the biggest word out for the meeting that I was attending online. And it was really organized. You're only allowed to speak for a very short time. Each person is given a chance. And then they didn't even have their December one because it's right on the holidays. It's always their fourth Monday. Too much information, but yes, I feel like there's some background that's needed.
Thank you very much. That helps. All right.
And just one other piece of context, the CWPP, or there's a Community Wildfire Protection Plan, was passed by the Assembly, but there's some problems with it as far as Girdwood is concerned. And we made some complaints, or at least we made comments, basically that it uses weather modeling for Anchorage Bold, applies that to Girdwood to estimate the risk profile for Girdwood.
And she's gonna get 283 inches in February too.
Right. So it's not actually clear if that's a major problem or a very minor problem, because you don't actually care about average weather. You care about when it's the most extreme fire weather. And nobody's looked at, I don't think anybody who's qualified has looked at whether that is different. Average weather is
But I do think this is a very different issue than the appointment of.
It is,
Brianna
I'm
to
just using
that.
that as an example
Yeah.
of something where, again, this is an example of someone who needs background.
Yeah,
needs
no,
to understand
100%.
distinctions.
Yeah, I think
So
we
that's
can.
just a
Well,
additional
nobody else-
justification.
Speaking of, may I ask if we're ready for vote?
Yeah.
Okay.
Have a hand up.
Can I speak on behalf of the fire department board? Thank you. I'm actually Amanda Tuttle. I'm on the Girdwood Fire Department board. I've been for 3 years now. I highly recommend that this does go back to the Girdwood Fire Department board, as most of us are hydrologists, natural resource management experts that sit on the fire department board. This is our area of expertise. We sit in, most of us are trained in the ICF command. We know this language. We know this. This is what many of us have done for, parts of our lives, and really appreciate, and the fire department board does too, is really appreciate Brianna stepping in, because it was definitely like, hey, what's going on? This thing coming down the line. But I absolutely do believe that this person should be a Girdwood fire. Back to the board. Sure that it's.
Oh, has the board discussed sending a member?
Yeah, well, we, not directly, we all had a meeting and Brianna did mention, that she was gonna attend. Honestly, it hasn't, like she said, it's a newly found thing. So I was kind of coming out at the same time as a couple other things that were going down. And so I do know that Brianna said she was gonna go, and so she attends lots of our meetings. And so it was convenient and it worked out, and she's been, she's taken that lead extremely well. But I do think that it does need to stay within people with natural resource management experience, because it is actually larger than just wildland fire. It's fire, which is everything. So I would love to see natural resource management expertise being weighing in on this on the board.
I would like to propose an amendment, because I think the way it reads now is that it would be Brianna reporting back through the fire supervisor. And I would like to propose that it's Brianna reporting back through what's the committee?
Girdwood Fire Department.
With reporting back through the Girdwood Fire Department board, which necessarily pulls in the GBOS person. But I do think Amanda's point is valid, that it should go through that team as well. So I think Brianna, and then reporting back to the fire board. The GBOS fire supervisor via the board. That's really inarticulate, but you guys get my point. It's a way to honor Amanda's perspective, which I think is valid in a way that doesn't ultimately change our vote for Brianna. It just
I can second the amendment. I
Structurally.
understand the notion of it. If I could just
Yeah.
say, it's really thorough then to go through that. And I'm on that board as a non-voting member in this seat.
Yeah.
So our meetings at BOD are quarterly, so the timing is not very frequent.
Okay,
So some of that CWVP came and it was gone.
yeah,
That was a very 2-week process. So anyway, it's totally doable and it should be natural for this seat to also communicate to the BOD.
yeah.
So
I think it's just somehow including that in whatever we vote on, that it would report through the BOD and the fire supervisor and GBOS. So that we don't skip that step.
I'd like to speak to the amendment. I think that the role of the Girdwood Fire Department Board is very different from our role. And if the language was saying that whoever the representative should report back to the Fire Department Board and should report back to GBOS, I'd be fine with it. But going through the Fire Department Board just is the wrong way.
Okay, I agree with
Yeah,
that.
so if we could just make that refinement.
Yeah, 100%. I'm on board with that. An and statement is
Yeah.
appropriate. It doesn't have to be a VS statement.
I think we need a restatement of I would like a restatement of exactly where we're at now. Can anybody do that?
Can you?
We move to approve Brianna Sullivan to the WUI Cat as a representative on behalf of Girdwood, reporting back through the GBOS fire supervisor and the fire department board of directors.
yeah, you got it.
Yeah.
Okay, I just didn't know what I was trying to get my acronyms
Are
right.
you comfortable with that?
Yes.
Okay,
Seconders nodding.
okay. And so if there's no further discussion, can we please vote?
Kelly Ocknick,
Yes,
Brianna Sullivan,
Yes.
Nick Edgington,
Yes,
Jennifer Wingard.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
that was vote on the amendment, wasn't it?
Yes,
For the amendment.
which was
amendment.
pretty much the original motion has been pretty much completely rewritten to that.
we can do.
Do we
it.
do we need another vote? I thought we just voted.
Maybe we could do it by consent.
Okay, we all agree?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, good. Excellent. All right, item number 9, agenda item LUC 2510-07, LUC recommendation for GBOS letters regarding solid waste services fee increase. I can start with this based on our conversation. If you're comfortable with that, or would you like to take this? Okay. So we did have a conversation with the Muni about this, and I have not had a chance to talk to my co-chair about this yet. My feeling was, I'm not sure the conversation is done. And in particular, one of the let's see, for the fee increase itself, the fee is for general trash removal. And we had the discussion about, okay, does this carry over for Girdwood? And long story short, it looks to me like they are potentially revisiting this because they've gotten feedback that it does hit your single user or the single bag harder. So that was my understanding. Was that your understanding? Yeah. And so I'm not sure. My, again, personal feeling is I don't know if we want to vote on this at this point or if we want to wait to see kind of how that shakes out.
I was going to suggest that we have a brief discussion and then push it off for a month.
Okay, would you like to start the discussion?
Yeah. I mean, I was going to say the same thing as you. It sounds like there's some acknowledgement that a flat, I think it's additional $4 onto everything, taking it used to be $4 here, or I think up to 3 bags, then 6 for up to 4, and now it's 10 for up to 4. But that means it's $10 for 1 bag, it's $10 for 4 bags. So there is a big disincentive to sort of use the transfer station weekly or as often as is needed. It does sound like there is an acknowledgement that adding that flat fee to low use is disproportionate. It discourages frequent use. So I think we could either go ahead and basically make that same case of saying it should be added to, should be added at a lower amount to single use to the low use ones, or we can wait a month or so, see what comes back from SWS. because it looks like they are considering a change, or they're looking into a potential change. So I'm probably happier waiting.
Thank you both. I'm also happy you're waiting because I think that leading up to this afternoon's meeting, Kelly Toth had conversations with Shannon Gamble, and it's really not SWS raising it. It's this AO from the assembly, so that SWS is passing through, lack of a better term, this fee increase is going to Parks and Rec. Parks and Rec is divvying that out to clean the green spaces because of the AO that the assembly passed, because there was no funding mechanism. So it's unfortunately coming at the window at SWS. But I think with the administration today, I think they want to come up with something that might work. So after this meeting, or if we do have to write a letter, we could write the letter that land use is asking, but it might change a little bit. I feel like there's ideas they might have that we don't have, including like a punch card or just something different than a flat fee. But it is different for, well, all of Anchorage has the fee increase too. So that is all.
Okay, Bryce, I see you online. Sorry, Mike, did you have something else?
Yeah, I was going to say just the mechanism, because it's an AO that added the fee, there would have to be a change in the ordinance that have to go back through the assembly. So if there is a proposal, it's still going to have a full public process and probably isn't going to be that quick. I'm bouncing between the two positions. There's also an argument for just making the case now that this disproportionately hits low use, which is what we want to encourage. We want people to get rid of trash as soon as possible and not store it around, create an attractant for our Earthside neighbours.
So before I take Bryce's comment, I just want to note that I had one or two little updates about other aspects of trash service, but I want to, while we're on this topic, Bryce.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, so on this kind of topic, I was at the municipal managers meeting earlier today, and I was the original drafter of this LUC, I guess, motion that was brought forward. And, I see Zach Johnson's actually still on the line, and thank you, Mike, for kind of teeing this up, because yes, the original fee increase, which is where this original item started, was an assembly ordinance, and it was a little bit, too late to the punch and how the assembly is processing things and how LUC could act on them. So with that said, I was hoping I could potentially hear from Zach on this because, Zach, I know you weren't, I'm not sure if you were at the MM meeting this afternoon. I don't believe I saw you. You have a lot going on. But the kind of response we got from SWS is a little bit disappointing, in my opinion. It was pretty much, well, that's a healthy spaces fee and we're just trying to deal with it. And it's disproportionate to, I guess, the amount of trash that we actually are contributing here in Girdwood and what our residents are expecting and demanding. So, Zach, would you be potentially in interest of like moving an ordinance to exclude Girdwood from this? And yes, it would be a long public process, but I think, we're ready for that and used to that here in Girdwood.
Yeah, I would say that if the Girdwood Board of Supervisors supports an ordinance to make this change, I'd be willing to sponsor it and put it before the body. Now, when we had this conversation surrounding the ordinance that, made this change, which also affected Girdwood, it was in the context of the Anchorage Bowl. And the challenge we're dealing with is that Solid Waste Services is an independent utility, right? And so their cost structure has to reflect, or their revenues have to reflect their cost of doing business. And we found that they were not getting the revenues they needed related to cleaning up green spaces. Now, I think you raised a good point that Girdwood's kind of in a different space as far as that goes. So yeah, I'd say that if GBOS takes a position on it, I'm inclined to support that position and willing to work with you guys to put something before the assembly.
Thank you, Zach. That's all, Chair.
I'm going to make a motion to postpone this to next month because I think there's a few ideas floating around. I'd like a bit more time to think about it.
I'll second.
Okay. Do we have any disagreement with that? Any discussion? And fantastic. I want to tag on just a couple pieces of information about this, which is that the other things that came up with on the meeting included this business of Sunday service. And I don't know about my other fellow board members that were in the meeting there, but the argument was that we couldn't have Sunday service because you couldn't leave a full transfer container And yet it was quite clear that they were leaving unfull transfer containers overnight. And so it begs the question of, does that mean we could argue for Sunday instead of Saturday? Now, there was still an issue with if the trash container is full and it has to be taken, then there's nobody to bury it. But that might be presuming that you fill it on a Sunday. I felt like I still had questions, and I'm curious if my fellow board members were in the same situation.
I heard her first response was that biggest problem was no one was working at any of their places in Anchorage on Sunday. And so I think with their contracts, that would be a big deal to change, to all of a sudden have someone else working on Sunday. That was the first answer I heard from her before the others.
And I guess my question there was, didn't we used to have Sunday service? So what happened?
Yeah, I'd say,
I remember it.
I would say the same thing. I think the contract, I wondered the same thing about contracts, but I doubt the contract has been updated to reflect lack of Sunday, but that could be a problem in the future. Yeah, I think the argument that there is no one, you cannot transfer a full container to Anchorage on a Sunday, I think is not a meaningful argument. It doesn't apply here. You could have Sunday service, and if for any reason it happens to fill up on a Sunday, we just have temporary closure until it can be moved on a Monday. But that would be better than having no service ever on a Sunday. So I think that's a fairly achievable problem to solve. So I didn't think that was a very compelling argument.
I would be interested in revisiting that.
Yes,
Yeah.
I think we need to.
Okay, if there's nothing else on that, and I did think, thank you to everyone who's been lobbying about recycling. It looks like it's going to get looked. Stay tuned. All right.
I think there was almost a commitment to, almost a commitment to bringing in, it was very, very close.
It was very close.
Expect to hear it once soon.
All right.
Recycling days.
Moving on to new business, item number 10, agenda item LUC 2601-04, LUC recommendation for GBOS action regarding Virgin Creek avalanche mitigation control development project conditional use permit approval.
He just had a presentation on it, and we'll see that packet come in. So this will be old business next month.
Okay.
Does he have to do a presentation here too?
Again?
Yeah.
We'll probably have them attend if you have questions.
Okay.
If you want a full presentation, they could do a presentation again.
No, I mean, I saw the LUC one. It was fantastic. I just didn't know if it had to be done.
Yeah, Tim will probably be here to answer any questions.
I think what we'll need to know is specifically what letters, or if it can just be one that's needed to meet all the different aspects of it. Something that I'm a little unclear on. Hopefully it can just be one resolution, but we need a clear idea of what the points of that will be. So it would probably be helpful to touch with Tim Glassett on a draft to present.
I don't know if they're going to create two different cases. I haven't looked into it yet, but the ordinance would be different from the ordinance might end up being the same thing. They could put them all together. But there's definitely there's an assembly action that follows planning and zoning.
Anyway, I have no idea where the chickens and the eggs lie there, but there could be multiples. So that's all.
We can have something ready for next month.
All right. Do we have anything further on that? Or can we move on to item 11? GHEC, current and upcoming vacancy.
They're going to have some vacancies. I think they have one seat open now, and they're going to have another vacancy in April. So we're just making an announcement if anybody has any interest in serving on the Girdwood Housing and Economic Committee. We recommend you may attend a meeting, understand what's going on. They're going to talk about goals for 2026 at their next meeting, and then if you have interest, submit your interest, and we can put it back before the board.
Thank you.
Hopefully, get anything. We'll just keep it on there and find somebody to fill the seats.
Okay. I gather you haven't been swamped with interest.
It's been unreal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know. Okay.
Yep. Wild. Yeah, I think what we're going to do is there was kind of an expiration date originally so that you could have moved this into old business if we had had interest. So anyway, that didn't happen. So we didn't move it into old business. So we'll extend the deadline and continue to cast a broad net. I also think that the co-chairs for GAGC are considering a change to their operating rules so that they could maybe operate with a smaller board. So you might want to provide input on that too.
It's also possible that the community in general doesn't realize what an amazingly productive and scintillating committee it is. Thank you. You're welcome. SAT for that. Okay, item 12, Safer Seward Highway proposal. The commenting period is extended to the end of February, but also I think both Mike and I were interested in having this on the agenda so that we can determine if there is interest in having a community statement, or more precisely, maybe a GBOS, official GBOS position.
I would just comment that I don't think GBOS should take a position. This is, and if we did, we need to have our own community meeting to really hear from the community, because having stood in that room, this one's loaded and it's so multifaceted and so nuanced, and it's not even Girdwood. So ironic. I mean, generally, I think maybe the boards, but on this one, I don't want to.
Well, what about tossing it to LUC and seeing what the interest is in having a generalized community statement and taking it from there? Because this is new business right now anyway. We're not deciding anything.
Yeah, and I'm certainly not against.
Our next meeting is right before this, right? We're at the end of
Yes.
3 months in a row. So even if they did comment, it's pretty tight. That's all.
Is that week?
Okay. So it's new business, and it can be old business, and we can decide not to do anything about it. Okay. First quarter revisions. Thank you for your patience.
Actually, sorry, can I?
Oh, sorry.
Can I just speak on this?
Sure, sorry.
I think it is something that's hugely relevant and important to Girdwood. That's those of us who don't have planes anymore. That's our primary method to get to the place where many of our services are. Girdwood has fewer local services than other comparable sized towns in Alaska because we're so close to Anchorage. So it performs it's a really crucial connection. And, a lot of people have children who are traveling that every single day, going to South High School. So I think it's very relevant to our community and something we should make a statement on. And especially hearing a different view from a lot of the South Anchorage communities, where it's kind of it's affecting the edge of maybe the area they're interested in, but they're not using it daily. They don't have their kids using it daily. It's not an absolutely central part of the infrastructure for them. So I think there is a difference between, given that other community councils are making statements and other parts of Anchorage, I think we have kind of almost an obligation to make a statement as well, or write a letter.
I think it needs to go to LUC.
Yes.
Because we need a forum to hear the community. And
Yes.
what I was really surprised by in the meeting was the very substantial polarization in the room, Girdwood. And that is the spirit in which I think it's difficult for GBOS to take a position, because there are substantial members of this community that are like hard no, 20 years of construction. There's people, he's not here now, but who, read through the 70 pages and, there was a not insubstantial amount of severe opposition.
Yep.
And there was a substantial amount of my kids are going, and so in light of the polarization, I don't believe we as a body can compress Girdwood into one viewpoint, which is ultimately what we typically do in a resolution. We either say we're for something or against something. And I don't believe that the community of Girdwood is for or against this. I think there's very polarized views that I would very heavily oppose trying to collapse into a position. So if we made a statement, I believe it necessarily has to recognize that there are very polar views in Girdwood, and that we as a board, I don't see how we can take a position, considering what I've heard from the community. Now, if there's an LUC meeting and we have a contested debate and truly bring the community, and although I wonder if everybody wants to go do that again when they actually did it with the DOT. So that's the spirit in which I am hesitant to take a position, because I don't see a position that Girdwood, a community, has And I've never seen us so polarized on something as we are on this project.
Just quick reminder, this is new business.
Yeah, I'm just.
But we can discuss this further. And then just real quickly, to Mike's point, I was really startled to hear this idea that nobody's in favor of it. And so anyway, that I am throwing this, we were interested in putting this out there specifically to see if there is any kind of community consensus. If there isn't,
I just want to say there doesn't have to even be a community consensus. What we're doing is making comments, and that can reflect the variety of opinions. I mean, similar to the way we respond to HLB work plan, we're not saying we approve, we agree with everything in it, or we disagree with everything in it. We're saying here are points to consider. So that's what we're doing here. I don't think it is a resolution. I think it's a letter.
okay. Let's now first quarter revisions. Thank you for your patience, Kyle.
No problem. So I'm just introducing this tonight, and we're starting the process. You know, every year the assembly goes through first quarter revisions because we do our budgets in the end of the third quarter, and we don't really know what the year look like. And I know that we already have expenses that are increasing for calcium and things like that. So we'll probably have to move things around, work with the budgets that are approved right now. So I will hopefully have something fully laid out for you in February, which will have us right on the OMB schedule to turn in something for the assembly to consider in April. So I just want to put that on the agenda.
Well, there is something I'd like to add to this. I took a quick look at the assessment values across Girdwood, and it's gone up. I think gotten the number I gave you, 10%. I think Girdwood's gone up around 10 to 12%, as opposed to a lot less than 132, thankfully. But although there are some other very high increases as well.
But substantially more than 4.
It's substantially more than 4. And I'm not going to go into any more details about that, but it's gone up by about 10%. What that means is when we did our initial approval of the budget, we were approaching the tax cap, and it looks, using current numbers, we're going to be probably similar to where we were before in the low 5s. So we probably don't have the same concern in terms of our local tax cap that we were having in sort of September last year. So that's just something to consider. We will know a little bit more in a month or two.
I have one question for Kyle. In today's quarterly meeting, was the packet information in the budget for the fire related to Q1 revisions?
No, it was probably 25
It was about the IGCs.
IGCs.
All right.
It was just the IGCs.
Okay, thank you.
If there is nothing else for this evening, I would take a motion to adjourn.
Did I miss the HLB, the work plan discussion? I thought that was on the agenda.
We do not have that on the agenda. So if
to adjourn,
move to adjourn. We are adjourned.
Hey, everybody.